Right. So it is 6:02. So we will get kicked off today with our already fourth clinic of the series. So welcome everybody. Welcome to any new first timers who might have just signed up. So this is the Run Clinic. And today we have a special guest, Coach Joy, who's going to be chatting all about the run. And of course, Coach Chris, who we've seen before on the clinic. So I'm just going to get things started, do some basic information, and then kick it over to Coach Joy to tell you everything you need to know about conquering the run of your first triathlon. So just kind of a little recap of, if I can get the slides to work. Okay. Hold on one second here. Oh, here we go. All right. So kind of a recap. Welcome to the First Timers program. If you are new to engaging with the First Timers program, as I just said, this is the fourth clinic. So we had the Triathlon 101, the swim, and the bike. All of those have been recorded, and you can find those either at the website here. So this is livegritstores.org, the First Timers program, or make sure you have also joined the First Timers Facebook page, which I think we'll have a QR code to here in a minute, and all of them are posted there as well. And if you're somebody that doesn't have Facebook, totally understand. Feel free to email me and I can send you the links. I'll pop my email in the chat before the end of tonight, but make sure to watch all of those. So today we're talking about the run. And then the next clinic is going to be the transition clinic. So you definitely don't want to miss that one. Here are some of the QR codes. So we have the QR code quickly to the Facebook page. We have the QR code to the Live Grit Source First Timers page. So that's where you'll find the clinic videos, some training plans, other miscellaneous stuff that might be of interest. And then we also have the QR code to the Team Strava group, which Coach Chris will talk about again a little bit later in this session, and why you might want to go there if you're new to Strava. So I'm Gillian. If you haven't been to one of the clinics, I am one of the coaches of the First Timers program. A little selfish plug for Live Grit Soars. So Live Grit Soars is a youth organization here in Chicago who trains youth to do the Chicago Triathlon. Many of our youth, we're actually kicking off on tomorrow, our first practice of the season. Many of our athletes, this is going to be their third, fourth time, but they all train to do the Chicago Triathlon, and then we do swim programs and bike programs all throughout the year. So if you have any interest in volunteering, please check out the website. Email me. We're always looking for coaches who can coach all season, or even just we're having like a practice triathlon, or coming out the day before on the Saturday races to support the athletes. So would love some first timers to get involved. You don't need any past coaching experience. We'll give you all the knowledge. You just need a really good cheer attitude. Cheer on the kids. So that's who I am. Again, Coach Joy and Coach Chris will introduce themselves as we kick through this. So the run, if you, again, maybe you just did a little bit of like, I'm just going to pick one of these distances. I have no idea what it means. If that's what you did when you signed up, here are the distances again for the triathlon. So if you're doing the super sprint, the Saturday race, your run, walk, hop, whatever it is going to be 1.5 miles. The sprint is 3.1 miles, and then the Olympic distance is 6.2 miles to finish off the day. Here is a quick video. If you come to the clinics, you've seen these before, but this is a video about the run. Again, done a little bit a time ago. You may see some cameos. So let's take a look here.
Trans-America Chicago Triathlon, the Run Course. The Run Course in Chicago is truly one of a kind, spanning vast stretches of Chicago's magnificent lakefront through its world-famous parks with breathtaking views around every corner. Beautiful and exciting from the very start.
The run's awesome. You head out of transition, you're running south, hundreds of spectators. It's right near the swim course. You've got all the spectators from the swim course are spectating the run as well.
It feels great because it's so beautiful, and it's not one of those like concrete, very boring path runs. It's so gorgeous. You literally forget that you're in a race.
The 5K sprint distance competitors will cross Walden Drive, then turn around and head back north. Olympic distance racers cover 10K, heading further south past McCormick Place before making their turnaround. Spectacular views throughout the race, passing iconic Chicago landmarks one after another.
You come down through the museum campus area, you're going through Grant Park, past Buckingham Fountain, all these landmarks. You go around the Shedd Aquarium, Soldier Field, if you're doing the Olympic distance, past McCormick Place, all these, staples to Chicago. But the best part is actually when you're finishing, when you're coming back, you come around the Shedd Aquarium and the skyline just opens up to you. And there's something about that just, gives you little chills when you look up and then you're like, wow, this is truly, truly a unique race.
At that point, everyone is heading westward, then under Lakeshore Drive before making one final turn at Columbus Drive for one of the most exciting finishes in all of amateur sport.
That's where the adrenaline kicks in, and if you thought you didn't have anything, you all of a sudden found something that you didn't think you had to get to the finish.
When I spin around that corner and on that final stretch, I'm like in a full sprint. It's amazing.
Come on, Louie! When you get up to the finish line, you're coming down that chute, he's yelling your name.
Great race, great job, great finish.
And everybody screams for you.
Nice job! Woo!
The race is over, but the party has just begun. Live music, cold drinks, so much food, and an incredible feeling of accomplishment and camaraderie shared by all.
All right, I'll stop it there because it sounds like maybe the bandwidth is a little choppy. So there's an after party that's really fun too. But hopefully you got the idea of the race. So let me see if I can get back to the slideshow and skip. Oh, nope. Okay. Yeah, so sorry if it was choppy. I'll try to, or maybe Coach Chris, if you can pop the link into the chat, if it was a little choppy, take a look at it. Does a great job of explaining the race course. So sorry about that. So real briefly, so Saturday is the super sprint, as we've talked about. That is up at Foster Beach. Again, if you take a look at the map, the orange box and where it says transition is your transition area. So you will have done your 3 laps on the bike, going into transition, and then entering back where the blue line is. So that's going to be on the lakefront path. So you're going to run down, you're going to do a loop, and you're going to come back. Pretty easy. You can do the course before. That's one of the great things. It's just the lakefront path right there. So that's the Saturday race. For the Sunday race, starting off here with the picture of transition again that we've seen before. So you will have come in on the bike on the north side of the transition area where it says bike in and bike out. And you're actually going to be you'll go to your bike. Same thing with the super sprint, pop your helmet off. If you're wearing bike shoes, take those off. Get whatever you need, put your run shoes on if you're not wearing them from the bike. And then you're going to head out down on the south corner down here where it says swim in and run out. So that's what transition is going to look like for the Sunday race. Just a couple of tips on this. So if you happen to be doing the relay, and we'll talk more about this both at the final clinic, and then they certainly will talk about it during the course talks that you have to go to before the race. But the exchange tent is down by the run out where it says T2 relay. And actually, let me back up just briefly. You're going to hear the words T1 and T2, and I don't know that we've talked about this a lot, but T1 is the swim to the bike, and T2 is the bike to the run. So you see the T1 relay pin, so that's the swimmer that comes in, gives the timing chip to the biker, and off the biker goes, and the T2 would be the biker to the runner. Let's go back here for a second. There are bathrooms at transition. You'll see them up down on the south side near the medical tent. Don't forget sunscreen and hydrating. So I think we'll talk about that later in gear. And very important is that you do have to have your race number on the front of you during the run. So this is both for Saturday and Sunday. So again, I think we'll cover this a little bit in gear, but just a couple of tips and tricks. And then if we're moving on for the course, we've seen this map before again. We have the swim, which is in the lake, obviously. We have the transition area. And then the run is this green line. So the sprint turnaround, as the video said, is Waldron Drive. So that's just south of Soldier Field, this first yellow dot. And then the Olympic turnaround is 31st Street Beach. But you'll be running on the same course as each other. It's just the sprint will turn around before, obviously, the Olympic. The blue dots are aid stations, so along the course, and we're going to talk more about hydration and nutrition. It's also on the lakefront path. Not a lot of shade, so be prepared for the heat and the sun, as always. And then let's see, I think I have, so just a couple pictures for Sunday, just to be able to visualize it. This first one up on the left, the reason why we included this is just to show that the first portion of the race is on the path that goes along the lake. And it's crushed gravel, but it's very tightly packed. So it's soft and, but just so you can see that. So that's that first picture there on the left. All the smiling faces, running is fun, on the right here. And then the finish line, a beautiful finish into the city there. So that is where I am going to stop talking today. And I am going to kick it over to Coach Joy, who is going to tell us everything we need to know left about the run. So Coach Joy, it's all you.
All righty. Hello, everyone. As you know, we're talking about running. This is the third event. Some of you will probably be happy for the run to get off the bike and to get onto the run course. Some people actually don't like the run course, but just getting your mind ready for August. Now, if you're running or doing any biking this weekend, it was kind of hot and kind of humid. So actually be prepared for the heat and humidity. So the one thing we always like to say, nothing new on race day. No new top. You might go to the expo and see something really cool and shiny and you want to buy it. You can buy it, just don't wear it on race day. Wear it post-race. So of course you'll need running shoes. Running shoes, whatever the running shoes you have been training in, those are the running shoes you're going to use. If you need some new ones, you might want to go with the same model. Number 2, technical socks. Now, why technical socks versus your regular pair of cotton socks? Well, cotton absorbs 10 times its weight in water. So wet socks on feet compressed in running shoes can cause blisters or hot spots. So that's why you want to get technical socks, because they wick away the moisture. Now, another way, if you are prone to getting blisters when you're running, you can also put Body Glide or Vaseline on your feet, or even powder on your feet to prevent the friction of the socks and your feet from getting blisters. Race belt, as Gillian said, you do have to have your race number displayed on the run. So you can get a race belt to clip your bib on. A lot of people like to use that because it's a little bit easier than pinning your race number onto your nice, lovely tri-top because we don't want to get holes in it. Hat or a visor to help prevent, to help with sun protection, but also with a hat at the aid stations, you can pour water on your hat or dunk your hat in water or put ice in your hat to cool yourself down. Sunglasses, again, sun protection because it's going to be sunny, it's going to be hot. It is August, so you want to protect your eyes. Ladies, sports bra. That's one of the most important things. If you're wearing a tri-top, a lot of tri-tops do not have support. So you will like to have that support underneath your tri-top. Sunscreen, sunscreen, sunscreen. As I like to say, if the black chick tells you to wear sunscreen, you might want to listen to her. So reapply often, find a sunscreen that works well for you, that won't sting in your eyes. Big parts you want to put it on, especially the back of your neck and on top of your ears. A lot of people forget their ears. Everyone remembers their nose, they remember their cheeks, but they forget the back. They usually forget their ears. Your ears will burn because it's really thin material, thin skin covering. And for my fellas who are bald, I would suggest if you don't like wearing a hat, slather your head with sunscreen. Hydration. Hydration is going to be key. There are, as Gillian showed on the map, there are hydration aid stations. So a lot of people will bring a handheld water bottle to have their hydration in, or a fuel belt. Or some people will have a hydration backpack. Hydration is big. There's one big key because you've already exerted yourself on the bike. You probably used up those 2 water bottles that were on your bike, but you still have to be mindful of the run. And your nutrition and fuel. Um, Coach Chris can talk, I believe, a little bit more on what will be the nutrition fuel on the course. But if you have a favorite gel, bring that favorite gel with you, or if you like the waffles or anything that you want as your nutrition or fuel. And if you're like some of us, if you want to bring Swedish fish, sometimes people bring candy for their nutrition. Please do so. And last but not least, and I think this actually should have been up at the top, you're already wearing them anyway. If you're coming from the bike, a lot of people run in their tri shorts. Your tri shorts are meant for the swim, bike, and the run. Now, if you're doing a relay, if you're the relay runner, you can get away with running shorts. You are cool with that. So find out what works for you, test it in training, in practice, and you will have a great day. And the last thing that was not put on here is anything anti-chafe cream, your Body Glide, because when it's hot, you tend to sweat. Also, if you're a salty sweater, the salt's going to start to dry on your body and can cause a lot of friction, a lot of chafing. So wherever a seam hits your body, Body Glide, whatever is your anti-chafe cream of choice, especially on in between your under your arms, where your arms are rubbing against your body because you can chafe with your tri-top. So next slide. If there's any questions, please let us know. Running rules. I am going to beat this one to death. No headphones at all. No music, no headphones. And it's not only is a rule, it is a safety issue. Just in case any of the safety personnel might need to get through, you need to hear them. Um, if a runner is passing you, a runner might say on your left. You might want to hear them. If it's really crowded, especially in that first 3/4 of a mile coming out of T2 onto the run, that limestone path is very tight and very compact and can get very crowded. Bib number has to be in front so people will know you. Also, it's an easy way to help you find your pictures. Once you can find your pictures very easily with your race number. Wear a top. You cannot, for men, you cannot be bare chested. You do have to wear a top. Women, sports bra will suffice, but you do have to wear a top. No cell phone use. Do not Don't try to call a friend while you're running or using your cell phone for music. Again, no devices whatsoever. And then, of course, my favorite one, no nudity in transition. Please don't do that. If you need to know more on the USAT rules, go to USA Triathlon's website, and they have all the list of rules. Also, um, review the athlete guide when it comes out, and this will be discussed in the course talk as well. Next slide. Okay, race day running tips. So when you're getting ready to get off the bike, entering into T2 from the bike, you want to go into an easier gear and you want to spin your legs. It's similar to when you're getting out of the swim. You want to kick a little bit more, getting blood flow in to the legs so you're able to get ready to get your run. In your transition area, everyone usually has two water bottles on their bike, but have another extra bottle with you just in case you have depleted those two bottles and you want something different, and just get a couple of swigs right after the bike. Do not start too fast. That is the biggest mistake that a lot of triathletes, experienced and newbies, have. They want to go bat out of hell. You want to ease into your run. So you want to think of really short, quick steps, thinking about focusing on your form. So that means shoulders are down and back. When you're driving your arms, you're thinking of bringing those elbows back. Hands are getting all the way to your hip and arms going forward, as Coach Chris likes to say, to your nips. So hips to nips. And you're not swinging your arms around, but very short, quick steps. Breathe deeply, because you might want to start thinking about that shallow breath, like, oh my God, okay, I'm starting to breathe, I'm doing this run, and you're breathing too hard. Take a deep breath in, slowly exhale it out. So you're thinking of inhaling for either 3 or 4 counts, exhaling out for either 3 or 4 counts. So you want to either do a 3-4 or a 3-4 or a 4-3 breathing, whatever is most comfortable for you. You want to hydrate. Hydrate early, hydrate often. When you're thirsty, you're already dehydrated. So think of that. Just a couple of sips, maybe every half mile, every mile. Hit that aid station. The aid stations are there for a reason. So if you're not used to taking aid, start thinking about it in training. And as Coach Krista says, there is a hydration table just outside of transition. um, Number 8 is, of course, mile 1, get your nutrition gels. That's your carb source. So getting your nutrition in. We were talking about nutrition because you just don't want to just think of relying on water. You need your hydration from your electrolytes, but you also need a carb source. That's your gels, or if you're a bar eater, or if you do any of the nutrition chews like Honey Stinger Chews, the gummies. And then one of the things I like to do is walk the aid stations. Sometimes the aid stations get really crowded. And also people are drinking, getting a hydration, they're dumping the cups. Aid stations can be very slippery. Now, do you want to fall? No, we don't want to. So just walk, get your hydration. Walk to aid stations, a nice little break to reset your body, and you can go back into your run. And then, of course, you got to smile. Even if you feel like death, you know what? If you smile, it's going to make everything relax, but it's going to also help other people around you. They're seeing you smiling. Smiling is contagious. And also photographers. Next slide. So, running in the heat. As you know, this weekend, Mother Nature decided to have jokes with us and decided to give us 90+ degree weather. So your run is going to be later in the day than any other running event. So if it's a run only event like marathon or half marathon or a 10K, they're starting at 7 o'clock in the morning. But your race might start at 7 o'clock for the swim. You might be starting your run at either 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, maybe even 12:30 or 1 o'clock. So in your training, do some training simulations where you are training later in the day, where it might be the hottest time of the day. So think about what your average, where you might think you might be on the run, what time. Go out, and if you're able to, go out and run at that time. Always start slow. That's going to help keep your core body temperature a little bit lower longer. So thinking about slowing down your walk for the first half mile, getting your race legs in. And then if you're feeling better, just you can pick up the pace. But also remember, we're going to prepare for hot conditions, but prepare for all conditions. So just know that it's August in Chicago. It's generally hot. Um, so basically, plan to train what is going for hydration and fueling. Again, nothing new on race day. No, if you know your rate, Coach Chris can really go into details. He is the data geek, especially on sweat rate. 1 liter is 33.8 ounces. Electrolytes, we're thinking about 300, 600 milligrams per hour. We're not really thinking about just sodium, but you're looking at magnesium and potassium. Sugar is your race fuel. Carbs are your friends. I'm going to just tell you that right now. Looking at about 30 to 90 grams per hour, but see what works for you. And on the right-hand side of the screen is ingredients per 12 ounces of the Gatorade Endurance formula versus the Gatorade Thirst Quencher. So the Gatorade Endurance formula is normally what you will see on races. The Gatorade Thirst Quencher is normally what you'll see at your local grocery stores, Quickie Marts, 7-Elevens. So you can see that there is a big difference in terms of there's calcium and magnesium in addition to potassium and sodium and chloride in the Gatorade's endurance formula versus in the thirst quencher. And at the bottom, you'll see there's a recommended carbohydrate intake during your endurance exercises. There is a QR code that you can scan that will give you more detailed information. Let's go on to the next screen. Pacing and heart rate. I'm going to have Coach Chris to hop in on this one also. Watch your heart rate. That's the best way to train. And focus on staying below your threshold, which is 90% of your max heart rate. If you know what your max heart rate is, you want to stay below that mark and focus on breathing, because breathing can help bring your heart rate down. But also, if you're a very anxious runner or you're having anxiety, deep breathing, those really deep breaths, inhaling for 4 counts, exhaling out slowly for 3 counts, or inhaling for 3, exhaling out for 4, very slow, is going to bring your heart rate down. So ideally, zone 3 is your endurance aerobic zone. That's a zone that you can go all day long. Your threshold racing zone, that's where you're pushing the pace, but you're not going all out, all out. I'm going to have my wonderful coaching partner, Coach Chris, to chime in on that because this is his wheelhouse.
Yeah, I love geeking out on data. So if people have questions, if you have a smart watch, if you have a Garmin watch and whatnot, the easiest thing to do if you're not familiar with how to pace yourself is just wear your device, have it collect data, and ultimately, realize that we're doing an endurance sport when we're doing a triathlon. It is not a sprint, even though a sprint triathlon has the name sprint. If you think about it, it's the only sport where a sprint is an event that takes you over an hour to complete, right? Track and field, a sprint is a 100-meter dash, 200-meter dash. So it's a very unique sport. And anytime you're doing endurance, training, you want to think about pacing yourself in that endurance zone. That zone 3 is where you can kind of safely go all day, like Joy mentioned. But if you're a more competitive athlete, you might push into that threshold territory or just below threshold. But you definitely want to stay out of the red zone. So one of the easiest things to do if you have a smartwatch, some of them have color coding. You can keep it real simple. This 5-zone model, 1 through 5, 5 being the max zone, the top 10% below your max heart rate. That's what you want to stay below. So as you're running, like Joy mentioned, focus on your breathing rate. And we'll have a little video link if you're not familiar with like how to listen to your breathing rate on pacing yourself. But just know green zone, that's where you build endurance. The yellow or orange zone, that's where you might be racing. And as long as you stay in those zones, you'll be able to, finish the race, hopefully, with what we call a negative split, a strong finish. So I think that's it on heart rate and pacing. All right. Joy, do you want to take this one or you want me to take this one?
Go ahead and take this one.
Yeah, so I know one question we do get a lot. The race is happening in August. It's summertime. It is going to be potentially hot. Some years it's cool and some years it's perfect. But typically it is a hotter summer day at the Chicago Tri, and that might make you go a little bit slower. And so a lot of people wonder, like, what is the cutoff time? Like, is there a cutoff? If I start walking, if I start going slower, will I have enough time to finish? And generally speaking, there are cutoff times for the swim. I think we covered that in the swim talk. But as it goes for the run, there's a cutoff time for you to finish the bike course. So for both the sprint and the Olympic distance, there are cutoff times. We have the schedule for the kids trying the super sprint here on the bottom. So you can see the schedule for that where the kids go first and the adults start later in the day. And the cutoff times are typically a much more relaxed for the super sprint event because it's a closed course. But for the sprint Olympic, we're using Lakeshore Drive, which is basically almost like a highway. And so the city does require us to open it up by noon. And so the bike course cutoff time is 11:45. So as soon as you get into transition, as long as you make it into transition by 11:45, based on your start time, the sprint races start between 8 a.m. up to 9:30, and then the very last wave of the day is the 9:45 a.m. triple challenge. And these times might change come race day, but typically these have been pretty consistent the last several years. So if you're starting by 9:45 at the very latest for the sprint, that means you do have 2 hours to complete. And that should be 11:45 a.m., not p.m. I think I made that typo on the bike course cutoff. So you have 2 hours to complete the sprint bike. And as long as you get into transition, you have 15 minutes before you need to start the run. And so you need to start the run by noon. And the whole course is a cutoff time at 2 p.m. So regardless of whether you're doing the sprint or the Olympic, that's the cutoff time. So as long as you get on the run and you start the run by noon, you basically have 2 hours to complete the run course. And if you're doing the Olympic, you've probably started a lot earlier than that. But that still means you have 2 hours to complete a 5K or potentially a 10K. And so if you're doing a 10K, if you think about that, 6 miles, you have 2 hours to complete it. You're basically doing 20-minute miles. Even at a walking pace, you can make that cutoff time. And if you're doing the sprint distance, you have 2 hours to do a 5K. I think you'll be okay. You could stop and take lunch in between each mile if you wanted to, and probably still make it. So the cutoff times are very relaxed. Um, there's the finish festival and all that typically goes until 2 o'clock. And again, this schedule might change a little bit come race day, but it is the world's largest triathlon. It has been in the past. And so it's a big event. They are pretty relaxed with the times because the race is going on for a long, long period of time. So just make note of that schedule. Be aware of it. You'll get updates as you head into race day. But yeah, if you're worried about the run cutoff time, it's something most people do not have to worry about. But there is that final cutoff time at 2 o'clock. All right, next slide. So you finish the run, you come down that final finishing chute, and this is a very memorable experience, I think, for anyone doing their first triathlon, especially. I remember one of the most unique things that I didn't even realize until I was doing the triathlon is when you come down that finish chute, it's not like a typical running event where there's hundreds of people, potentially, dozens of people crossing the finish line around the same time. It is actually around the same place that the Chicago Marathon has its finish line, but generally you're coming down that chute just one or two people at a time. So it's a very personal finish line experience. The announcer sometimes will even call out your name as you run down that finish chute. They'll have you go over a timing match so they know who's coming, and you might get announced. It's a very personalized experience coming down that finish chute. One thing to know about triathlons, though, because some races do allow this, but most do not, you can't have friends or family join you down the finish chute. You might actually get disqualified if you do that. It's more a safety issue, right? They don't want to have little kids and dogs and pets and whatnot coming down and having other people sprinting down the finish line and tripping over them. So there's no family jumping in, unfortunately. We do, however, have a new thing happening this year for folks doing the relays, and that is there will be a relay finishing chute corral before the finish line. And if you are doing a relay where you have a friend or family member doing the swim and the bike, and then you're doing the run, they can join in with you and come down the finish line together with you. And that's something brand new that we're doing this year. So a really cool change to the finish line. And then when you cross the finish, there's a whole festival experience. We have different tents and areas for different community groups. So if you're doing the corporate challenge, which is where you fundraise for Lurie Children's Hospital, there's a tent area for that. If you're part of a tri club and your tri club has more than 10 people signed up, we have a special 10 by 10 space for every tri club team. So if you're doing a team, this is an area for your team to have their own place. And new this year, we also have the Chicagoland Tri Series. So if you did Leon's Triathlon, which was a couple weeks ago, and Pleasant Prairie, which just happened this past weekend, and you do the Chicago Tri, if you do all three races, the Tri-State Series, if you want to think of it that way, Illinois, Indiana, and Wisconsin, we're going to have a special hat. I don't have mine on me here, but we just got them. So a special additional finisher item. And for those doing the triple challenge, you'll have an area where you get your finisher jacket and a cookie, a Potbelly cookie. There's also a VIP spectating area for friends and family. And then there's a whole finish festival with food, music, expo partners, the whole 9 yards. And there's an award ceremony that takes place as well. We recognize the 100 Club, the Police Against the Fire Department Challenge. And also this year, again, the Chicago Triathlon is the state championship for Illinois. So USA Triathlon Awards for the top age group finishers, high school, and clubs as well. So there's a whole lot going on after you cross the finish line as well. All right, next slide. If you have not been training or following a training plan yet, I wanted to remind folks we do have training plans posted. If you check your email, you probably already got this if you're signed up for the race. But there's different training plans available. These are PDFs that you can print out if you want. Very simple, just telling you what to do each day, certain amount of swim, bike, and run volume. And if you want a more detailed training plan, our virtual cycling partner, which actually has virtual cycling and running now, My Whoosh, they have a free app where they have detailed workouts, and it'll tell you not just how much time to do of swim, bike, and run, but what intervals to do, what intensity to do. So a more detailed training plan is now available in the My Whoosh app. And if you click that link or QR code down below, you can go right to the webpage and see those training plans as well. So the key though for the run volume with that is as you're building you're following a training plan, don't try to cram, don't try to make up for missed workouts. Always build your run volume gradually. So a couple final tips here. When we look at total running volume, how many miles a week you might be doing, just build very gradually, 10 to 20% in terms of total weekly volume. So if you're running 10 miles already, great. You might be doing more than you need to for a sprint or Olympic try, but you only want to add maybe 1 or 2 more miles from week to week. Same thing with the long runs. Don't just jump right into trying to run a 10K if you're doing the Olympic distance. Start at just 1 mile, then 2 miles, then three, build gradually. We do recommend, though, if you're planning on pushing the pace and running at a higher intensity, a little more competitive athlete, you do want to peak your running volume at about at least 1 to 2 times your event distance. So, for example, if you're building up to running a 10K at a race pace, a higher intensity, try to make sure if you're running 10K on the weekend, that you're running at least 2 or 3 times during the week where you're doing about 10K of total distance. So that would be like 2 5K runs or maybe 3 5K runs. That way you're getting used to the volume before you do the same volume in one run at a higher intensity. So build the volume first, then add the intensity. We also recommend kind of more unique to triathlon is running at higher cadences. So when you're on the bike for a long time, your muscles will get tired. Your feet will actually get a little inflamed. They'll get a little bit bigger and heavier. And if you want to not have your legs feel like bricks when you start running, make sure you're running at higher cadences. So quicker, shorter steps, like Joy mentioned. Also, what helps for the run is to actually get used to cycling at those higher cadences too. And that way your body and your muscles get used to getting ready for running. And just biomechanically, if your body is used to having your muscles fire at a certain rate, then when you hop off the bike, they'll continue to fire at that rate without feeling like they need to cramp up. But people who, get in a really hard gear and they mash their pedals on the bike, they will feel a lot heavier with their strides when they get to that run. So try to keep that same cadence. That really does help you run off the bike. So we call those the brick workouts where you bike and then run. Some people say it stands for BR and then ick because your legs feel icky. They feel heavy when you come off the bike. But it's just stacking bricks. It's like stacking workouts. Do one workout after another. So that's what multi-sport is all about. So what I recommend when you're doing that bike to run transition, try to always finish the bike portion by shifting into a very easy gear. Get those legs spinning at a high cadence and get used to shifting your gears. Too many people just grind their way into transition with a big heavy gear, and that makes for a harder run. Also, try to have fun with training. Train with groups, find some fun runs, running stores, bike shops that will even have runs and rides that you can join and make running fun. Sometimes if you're new to running, it seems very monotonous if you're just going out and doing things on your own. You don't have a lot to focus on. You don't have the distraction. You don't have the camaraderie. That social aspect definitely is what makes running a fun sport. So definitely take advantage of local fun runs. We do have some I'll mention here in a bit. Also, try to think about doing other brick workouts. If you can't do a bike and run workout real easily, do what we call an aquathlon, a swim and then run. And locally, we have a Chicago Tri Club that does those on Thursday nights, actually starting tomorrow. The other part that really helps me get through the run when you're having a tough run or it's hot out like it is right now in Chicago, just remember to smile. Like fake it until you make it. If you smile, your body will feel better. And it really does help, besides just looking good for the photos on race day.
So just remind yourself to breathe, like Joy said, and smile. And then, as I mentioned, follow the training plan. And then finally, and I put a little QR code here. One of the charity teams at the Chicago Triathlon is one that both I help coach and Coach Joy helps to coach as well. We do marathon and a full training program for the Chicago Triathlon, and we provide video tips every once in a while. So this was one we just shot recently with some running form tips. So if you're not familiar with things to focus on while you're running, you can watch that video, and that'll give you all those different tips and drills that Joy has mentioned so far. All right, getting close to the end here. As a next step, if you're looking for another thing to look forward to, there is another monthly triathlon social coming up at one of our partner bike shops, BFF Bikes. This one's coming up on Friday, July 18th. We will actually be going in depth talking about fueling and pacing more. So if you have questions about heart rate, questions about fueling, nutrition, I'll be doing the data geek talk about, how to optimize your performance, how to think about how to plan your race day so you can perform better. But we'll also have some good discounts for nutrition products and gear at this event. So be sure to RSVP for that in July. And then I think one of our final couple slides here. So a bunch of community events. We referred to a few of these already. But the open water swim clinics, we just had our first one because the very first one got canceled. So this is our second one technically, but we just had our big swim clinic with over 300, almost 400 people down on the beach last night here at Ohio Street Beach. And while those are swim clinics, we do have an aquathlon division where you can do a competitive timed swim plus run. So if you're looking to work on your run, those are fun events to attend. We also have social hours after them. So be sure to mark those on your calendars. There's also some local partner events in Chicago. There's the Chicago Area Runners Association. We're probably going to have a Chicago Tri-Tent at the Chi-Town Miles Race, which is a race on the running track, a timed mile event on July 19th. We've also got a discount code set up for the Fulton Market 5K, a running event in the downtown area in Chicago on Sunday, July 27th. So feel free to sign up for either of those, and we might see you there. Also, some of our local clubs and communities have open events that you can participate in. The BFF Bikes Bike Shop has group rides on the weekends, but they also have a group run on Wednesday mornings. I pop in typically and help out at those, so feel free to join us for a little run. We do a run and mobility work on Wednesday mornings. And then the Chicago Tri Club, which is one of the largest triathlon club communities in the Chicago area, they host a weekly Stroke and Stride, which is a swim and run event down at Ohio Street Beach on Thursday nights. So I think that's starting tomorrow night, actually. So CTC has a low membership cost, and they always do a little social hour after their workouts as well. So be sure to check those out. All right, next slide. So last but not least, if you do have any questions, as Gillian mentioned, we do have another transition clinic, one of our final or almost final clinics coming up towards the end of July, about a month from today. But in the Facebook group, you can post questions. It's pretty active this time of year with all random questions, and there are no stupid questions. So feel free to post anything, because if you're thinking about something, odds are somebody else will be thinking about that as well. So post those questions in the Facebook group. And there's also the new Strava club that the Chicago Tri started, where you can also post, but we put all the community events in a calendar on that Strava group. So if you're looking, what's coming up next, what's the next social event, what's the next first timers clinic, you can find all that information in that Strava group as well. But feel free to email Gillian or myself. I'm the Chicago Tri Community Manager, so I help coordinate all the community events, and you can feel free to reach out to either one of us at any time. I think now, do we have one more slide? I forget. This is our general community program slide. So these are all different links to different resources. So besides the main websites, some other links you might want to check out for additional triathlon related topics. We do have, if you have any questions about gear and equipment, We do have a general discount code Shy Try for Synergy wetsuits if you need to buy a race belt. We also have a discount with Varlo Sports for triathlon apparel. So be sure to check those out. And we haven't officially announced the nutrition partner. I know Joy was hinting at that. So every year at the Chicago Tri at the mile 1 point, we have a gel or a nutrition, a fueling partner. This year, we are hopefully going to announce it in the next week or so. But we might have multiple nutrition options at the mile 1 aid station. So not ready to announce it yet, but it'll be a very familiar name for those who are in the triathlon world. So stay tuned for that announcement. And then we might have some special offers with that as well. I'll be going in depth on nutrition, like I mentioned, at the next Tri-Social. And I see the question here if that'll be recorded. I'm going to try to record that. We don't always record the Tri-Socials, but this one's going to be more of an in-depth topic. So we're going to try to get that one recorded as well. But if you guys have any other questions, I think now we're going to open it up to any general questions that you might have. And we'll wrap up our talk about the run here in a few minutes. So thank you, everyone. If you have questions, feel free to put them in the chat here. We're probably going to wrap up the recording, but we'll hang out for a little bit to continue to answer questions. And if there are none, we will see you guys at the next clinic. So again, mark your calendars, Wednesday, July 23rd, 6 o'clock. So what is that, about four weeks from now, I think. That'll be the next topic where we kind of put it all together with how to master the transitions, both T1 and T2. So swim to bike and bike to run. We'll go through all the nitty-gritty details of that at the next clinic.